Thank you very much. It's good seeing everybody out tonight. First, I want to thank the selection committee for selecting me as one of the honorees this year. It's a great accomplishment to be selected along with Mr. Benson, John, and Irvin. This is a great time in my life, and I appreciate the selection from the committee. Also want to be able to just thank fans, I guess starting back from my youth. You know, we had fans in our youth playing Little League and everything, and you know, and it's obviously going to be our dear loved ones. My late parents, they loved to watch their little boy play, and he was happy to make them proud. I'm here tonight. My brother, my two sisters. You know, we went our different routes, and I was the guy that was just the gym rat. I mean, you know, we all picked our own different avenues, but I picked that avenue, and it paid off for me. And I just want to tell some of you young athletes here tonight that accomplish things at a young age, just never give up on trying to make it to the top of the mountain, because some of you are going to get there. I mean, you know, not everybody, and you have to understand that, you know, but just keep your dreams up and keep your hopes alive, and things will turn out for you. Also want to thank the fans along the way who supported me through high school, Leon Gottschall, and then obviously Tiger Nation. I know there's a lot of Tiger Nation here, and we're strong here in the South. I have a little Tiger Nation in South Florida. Every time I see somebody with a little LSU decal or LSU something hanging there, I try and pull them over and talk to them. I mean, I love having that LSU Nation wherever I can have it happen. I guess, you know, as time goes on, you know, then more and more people became a big part of my life. When I was at LSU, I was kind of maybe I felt like I was, you know, big man on campus, and then I met my beautiful wife. She was my little princess back then, and I was 19, she was 17, and I think that did a lot for me. It kind of made me kind of feel a little more secure, a little more kind of contained, I guess you want to say it. I think she made me confident. She brought joy to my life. Obviously, my parents loved her, which was a great thing. I mean, you know, and my family loved her, and it was like, you know, everything turned out to be great for us along the way. You know, my brothers, my sisters, they were married. Their siblings became my fans. Obviously my in-laws, my mother-in-law, my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, their spouses. You know, because they were, you know, that was kind of towards my college and my professional careers, and they were big supporters of mine. So I think all of them just loved the fact that the way our families grew and how much they supported me. I know that being from Leon Gottschall High School, we weren't a very good team back in those days. And now it's East St. John High School, and obviously the people in Louisiana, you'll know how successful they are, but we were a struggling team. So just kind of giving you an idea about, you know, like I'm telling you young kids, always keep your eye on that mountaintop, you know, because you never know when something's going to happen good for you along the way. I was recruited accidentally to go to LSU. I was kind of getting some offers from some of the smaller schools around the state, but LSU was recruiting this top-notch offensive lineman in my junior year from one of the Hammond High School, which happened to be one of the big high schools in that day, in that time and era. They were always competing for state championships, and I just happened to have a phenomenal game against a kid that was probably one of the top 2 or 3 offensive tackles in the country. Didn't know anything about it. Went home. A couple weeks later, Coach late Doug Hamley came in, recruited me, and says, "We want to offer you a scholarship, you know, after you finish your senior year." And I'm still a junior, and I was like, "Great!" You know, I mean, I just the greatest thing in my life. I've been an LSU fan since I was a little boy, listening to them on the radio, just like I did listening to the Saints on the radio on my AM radio. I'd go out in the front and find a good signal on the porch and try and just listen to the games. I mean, it was just a great time in my life. And speaking of the Saints, when they won their Super Bowl, I work for Caesars Entertainment, and I work in the casino business, and I was hosting a group of customers in Las Vegas. And after the game was over, I was so excited. I was going out the building, and they started showing post-game accomplishments and the banter, and all of a sudden I saw Drew Brees holding his little boy. I started crying. I mean, it's like it meant so much to me. Excuse me. But getting back to how LSU. So I had Coach Mack who saw me play in the All-Star game for high school, and he's the one who had thought of my accomplishments in that game, and he called me up right into the locker room after the game and says, "Son, you're going to get a lot of playing time with this team." And I was, here I am unheralded, not thinking, not having a whole lot of confidence that I can compete, but I was competing. And you don't know it. You just don't know how hard your accomplishments and your competition, can help you rise to the top. And in that year, it's still something to this day that I feel very, very, one of my proud accomplishments is that I was the only player, and still may hold up, to be a starter as a freshman in Division I football and not turn 18 until the season ended. Because back in those days, college football used to end a lot earlier, and I ended up ending the season. I turned 18 about 10 days after the season ended, because my birthday is towards the very end of November. So that's an accomplishment I feel very, very proud of, and I could use some of that water right there, sweetheart. Excuse me, but as you can tell, I wing it. That's kind of the way I played. I mean, it makes you a good player sometimes too, right? You know that, right? You put in game plans, you do all your work, but on game day, sometimes you got to wing it. And big plays are made when you wing it sometimes. All right. So getting a little more further into my accomplishments and how this became part of today's accomplishment is that when I played in the Senior Bowl, Coach Shula and his staff were coaching us, and I was kind of a guy that was kind of under the radar still, maybe a third-round draft pick, and I went out there with a lot of my sights still set on the top of that mountain, and I worked hard, busted my butt every day in practice, and I remember it was during the game, and we had just scored a touchdown, and I wasn't even on the kickoff team, and Coach Shula was like, we only got 10 guys out there. And I just ran onto the field just to be to cover the kickoff. And like I wasn't in the kickoff team. I just said, the hell with it. I'm getting out there. I'm going to go out there and play and make, and sure enough, when it come time draft time, he tells me this story still. He tells this story. He says, AJ, he says, when we had our meetings, he says, I told my general manager and our player personnel directors, I'm not letting y'all make my decision on my pick. I'm not letting y'all do it. And because they had all these other guys on top of the board, and when it came time, when I fell to, I actually didn't fall. I mean, I was supposed to be like a second-round draft pick, maybe an end of the first-round draft pick. So when my pick came up, the Buffalo Bills were on the phone, and they called me up, and they said we're in the clock, and they asked me who my agent was, and I told them who the guy was. He was Howard Slusher. He was one of the greatest hard-nosed negotiators in the day. And they said, well, give us a second or so. We'll think about it. I get off the phone. I tell my roommates, I think I'm going to the Buffalo Bills. I didn't want to do that. I mean, come on. It's a job, but still. So the phone rings just a minute or so later, and I kind of go, I guess y'all going to come see me in Buffalo. And I pick up the phone, and it was Bobby Beathard on the phone. He goes, we would like you to speak to Coach Shula. We just made you the #1 pick of the Miami Dolphins. And I tell you what, man, my heart rate went up, and everything was bells and whistles was going off, and it was the greatest time of my life at that time. And then, over the years, playing for Coach Shula, playing for Coach Bill Arnsberger, one of the greatest defensive minds in the game, he kind of helped me develop a skill set that, to this day, it's a lot better. But we invented the zone blitz. I mean, I don't know if you know that. We kind of invented the zone blitz. So just think, I mean, and my kids, they tell my boys and some of their friends, you saw the highlights, they'll kind of go, Dad, why were you guys so slow? I'm kind of going, well, I was faster than the other guys because I outran them, so I had to be faster than some of those guys. So that's always some good fun stories around the house around the holidays, and we love getting after it. But the injuries really sunk in. My last couple years in the league, I started getting surgery after surgery, and I just couldn't go anymore. In my heart, I really wanted to play. My mind said you can play, but the body just wouldn't take it anymore. And But I thank God, and again, I mean, my mother and father, who I wish were here, I think they're looking, maybe they're talking to Mr. Benson. I know my dad was a big Saints fan, so maybe he's up there, pulling them aside and talking some football with Mr. Benson. Thank you all very much. Appreciate, the committee making the selection. Our next honorees, congratulations to you guys, and thank you very much for joining us tonight.